On the 4th of May 1935, Grimsby Town Hall, St James's Church and Old Clee Church were floodlit to celebrate the Silver Jubilee of King George V. It was the first time Old Clee Church had ever been floodlit by electricity, and the effect was apparently beautiful, and no doubt marvelled at by the human population of Old Clee. Less impressed were the family of tawny owls, 2 adults and a juvenile, who lived in the church's belfry. Owls had nested there for years, but this particular family's peace was shattered when their nest was suddenly flooded with light at 9:45 p.m. Within weeks, the Festival of Light would turn into a nightmare, as the owls evidently viewed the light show as a declaration of war. Several weeks later, reports of vicious attacks on members of the public in the Clee Crescent area began to appear in the local papers. The first reported victim was Robert Frederick Jenkins of 78 Hamilton Street, who was hit violently on the head from behind at 11:15 p.m. on Thursday the 23rd of May. Turning to face his attacker, he found no one there, but glancing upwards he saw a large bird flying erratically. Robert later realised that a triangular piece of skin had been ripped from his forehead. The following night at 11:30 p.m, civil servant Archibald Ross of 8 Kelham Road was walking along minding his own business when he too was clobbered on the head. The attack sent his trilby hat flying some yards away, and when he went to retrieve it, he found the fabric torn by talons. Mrs. Ruth Mumby of Hall Farm Cottages was the next to fall prey to the invisible terror on Saturday the 25th of May. She later told the Grimsby Telegraph, "My hat was knocked off, my head scratched, and the hair nearly pulled out of my head. I swung round to see who or what my assailant was, but could see nothing. I did not stay to investigate, I was too frightened." The final 2 reported attacks took place on Sunday the 26th of May, within minutes of each other. First, a hatless Mr. William Douglas of 240 Durban Road was badly scratched, and then Archibald Ross came back for seconds. This time he was wearing a more solid bowler hat, but his assailant still ripped the brim and punctured the crown. Commented Mr. Ross, "I shall be glad when the old bird returns to its no longer floodlit belfry. Owls give me a headache." Whilst there was talk of vampires and irate banshees, a more rational correspondent told the Telegraph that on his frequent walks in the Clee Road district between 11:30 and midnight, he had heard numerous owls, and on most nights a particularly loud screaming shriek that sounded sometimes like a child crying and sometimes like a ghoulish chuckle. He was convinced, though, that the perpetrator of the assaults had talons rather than fangs. Enter 69-year-old John Francis Phillipson. The Old Clee farmer made good who had rented Willesby Old Hall 5 years earlier and handed it over to the hospital for use as an annex rent-free. Unfortunately for the owls, his charity didn't extend to them, so when 2 of the birds were spotted flying over a field adjoining his farm on the evening of the 1st of June, he took out his gun and shot them both in the tree where they perched. The first owl was an adult with a 3-foot wingspan and talons an inch long, the second half-grown and only hatched that year. It was reported that the birds had been frequently seen flying about the village and sitting on top of the barns. A young farmhand had previously been attacked in the field and his hat carried away by an owl. The following morning the 3rd owl was captured by John Jordan, the lodge-keeper at Willesby Hall, who told the Telegraph, "I was going through the woods when a man who was with me drew my attention to the owl. It was sitting on a bough about 6 feet from the ground, and I thought it strange for an owl to be about at that time, for it was 8:30. We had both seen the owl in the vicinity the previous day, but it had flown away as we approached. This time we each picked up a stick, and we parted company, approaching the owl from 2 sides. At first it watched me whilst my companion advanced upon it, and then it turned to him, so he stopped and I was able to get within reach of it. I struck it on the head with my stick, but I did not hit it hard, as I only wanted to stun it. The bird fell to the ground and I picked it up." Tawny owls usually mate for life, so perhaps the surviving owl was too stunned by the loss of its mate and offspring to put up a fight. It survived, but was imprisoned in a box by John Jordan, and its fate is not known. As a final indignity, the large owl shot by Mr. Phillipson was put on display at the old Clee fete 5 days later, complete with the label "A Terrible Vampire," and a photo appeared in the Grimsby News of the farmer showing off the owl and its offspring. The Telegraph's Town Talk correspondent commented, "So, direct action has been taken against the old Clee owls. Poor owls. Once they come up against civilization, they have to give way or be wiped out."